Once upon a time, in the vast kingdom of Eldoria, there lived a noble king and queen who were blessed with 7 children. The first 6 were strong and brave sons, each with their own distinct personalities and talents, destined for greatness. The youngest was a gentle and kind-hearted daughter named Eldoria, the only girl in the royal family. She was cherished dearly by her parents and siblings, but her heart often felt a quiet loneliness, for she was sheltered and unable to share in her brother's adventurous exploits. The 6 princes Alaric, Brendan, Cedric, Dorian, Eamon, and Felix were known throughout the land for their courage and boundless curiosity. From a young age, they had developed an unbreakable bond, spending countless days exploring the sprawling forests that bordered the kingdom. Their mother would often watch with a mixture of pride and worry as her sons returned home muddy and tired, their faces flushed with excitement from the wild games and daring escapades they shared. Despite their youth, the princes longed for the unknown. The palace gardens and castle walls no longer held the thrill they craved. One bright spring morning, the brothers were wandering deeper into the ancient woods than ever before. The air was thick with the scent of pine and blooming wildflowers, and the songs of birds echoed like a chorus welcoming them further into the verdant labyrinth. On that day, as Alaric paused to tie his leather boot, his sharp eyes caught sight of a narrow, winding path veiled by overgrown brambles and moss-covered stones. It was a route none of them had noticed before, almost as if the forest itself had revealed a secret. Intrigued, Alaric beckoned his brothers, and together they stepped cautiously onto the untamed trail. The path twisted and turned, lined with ancient oaks and shimmering ferns. The sunlight danced through the canopy, creating shifting patterns on the forest floor. For hours, they followed the trail, hearts pounding with anticipation and minds filled with questions. What mysteries might lie at the end of this hidden way? Would they discover an untouched part of Eldoria, or perhaps something far more magical? As the path opened into a secluded clearing, the brothers halted, surprised to see a quaint stone cottage nestled amidst wild roses and ivy. Its chimney puffed gentle tendrils of smoke into the crisp air, promising warmth and shelter. Nearby, a weathered chicken coop creaked softly in the breeze. Perched on a worn wooden stool beside the door was a large black crow, its intelligent eyes fixed curiously upon the intruders. Who could live so far from the kingdom's heart? Brendan whispered, his voice tinged with awe. Maybe a woodcutter or a wise hermit, suggested Dorian, peering cautiously through the shrubs. The clearing held an eerie stillness, broken only by the rustling leaves and the crow's quiet caws. On the ground lay a curious pile, a mass of enormous white feathers, soft and shimmering like fresh snowflakes. The brothers exchanged puzzled glances. Who could be shedding such feathers? The sight stirred something deep within them, a whisper of enchantment they could not ignore. Before they could move closer, the cottage door creaked open. An elderly woman stepped into the yard, her eyes sharp and voice stern. "I do not welcome visitors here," she declared, her tone icy. "What business have you in these woods?" The brothers stammered their apologies, but curiosity urged them forward. Some reached instinctively toward the feathers, but the woman's warning cut sharply through the air. "Do not touch those feathers, or you will regret it," she hissed, her gaze darkening. This is a place bound by ancient magic. But fate had already sealed their destiny. As the brothers' hands brushed the soft plumage, a strange sensation coursed through them, an otherworldly force twisting their limbs and reshaping their forms. Time seemed to still as the transformation overtook them. Where once stood 6 proud princes, now fluttered a flock of 4 majestic swans, their feathers gleaming pure and white. 2 brothers remained human, dazed and horrified, as the magic completed its cruel work. The old woman's face softened for a moment, a flicker of regret crossing her features, but she said nothing. Before the brothers could question their fate, the swans took flight together, disappearing into the thick canopy, leaving only a scattering of feathers in their wake. The palace was thrown into chaos when the princes failed to return. The king sent countless search parties deep into the forest, but no trace of the sons was ever found. Days turned to weeks, weeks to months, and hope began to fade. The queen's health declined, and sorrow filled the great halls once bright with laughter. Left alone, Eldoria wandered the endless corridors and gardens, her young heart aching to bring comfort to her grieving parents and find her lost brothers. She often sat on a secluded bench in the furthest reaches of the garden, staring into the distance and wishing for a sign, anything that might guide her on a path to save her family. One afternoon, as the sun cast golden rays across the petals, a black crow alighted beside her. Its gaze was piercing, almost knowing, and at its feet lay a curious orb of glass that shimmered with colors beyond imagining. Eldoria reached out tentatively, sensing that this mysterious visitor might hold the key to the long journey ahead. The trials that awaited her would test her patience, courage, and love more than she could yet comprehend. But within her burned a quiet flame, the fierce determination to undo the ancient curse and reunite her family once more. And so, with a breath held deep and a heart full of hope, Eldoria's quest began. After the mysterious crow appeared beside Eldoria in the royal garden, a deep sense of destiny stirred within her. That night, as the castle slept under a blanket of stars, Eldoria crept quietly to the ancient library, a place filled with dusty tomes and forgotten magic. Guided by an unspoken urge, she pulled from the shelves an old, leather-bound book titled Secrets of Eldoria's Enchanted Realms. Within its fragile pages, she discovered legends of a hidden part of the forest where magic still thrived, a place called the Vale Wood, shrouded in mist and guarded by spirits. The book spoke of an ancient curse laid upon her family generations ago, involving a powerful sorceress who turned men into beasts to punish the bloodline for a long-forgotten betrayal. Eldoria realized her brother's transformation into swans was a fragment of that curse. To break it, she needed to journey into the heart of Vale Wood, retrieve 6 magical enchanted threads from the Spider Queen's lair, and craft 6 mystical garments. Only then could the spell be undone. Determined yet fearful, Eldoria prepared for the quest. Before dawn, the black crow returned, now perched on her windowsill, and in its beak held a tiny silver key glimmering faintly with a blue glow. "This key will open the gate of whispers," an ethereal voice echoed in Eldoria's mind. "But beware, the path is fraught with trials. Trust only your heart." With the key clutched tightly, Eldoria slipped away from the castle, her cloak wrapped tightly to shield against the dawn chill. As she entered the forest's edge, the familiar trees gave way to shadowed groves tangled with twisting vines and eerie whispers. The air thickened with enchantment and unseen eyes. Along the winding path, Eldoria encountered her first test, a pair of mystical foxes with fur like molten gold, their eyes gleaming with cunning. They blocked her way and challenged her with riddles of truth and deceit. "Answer us wisely, for the forest knows all," one fox said slyly. "Fail, and wander lost forever." Ildoria's mind raced, but her gentle nature and quick wit guided her. With patience, she solved their riddles, revealing the truths hidden beneath illusion. The foxes bowed, revealing their true form as forest guardians, and gifted her a shimmering amulet that would protect her from the dark magic of Vale Wood. As Eldoria ventured deeper, the forest seemed alive. Trees whispered ancient songs, and shadows danced just beyond sight. She felt the weight of the curse pressing against her spirit, but also a blossoming strength within. Suddenly, a chilling howl pierced the stillness. From the gloom emerged a great wolf with eyes like burning embers, a guardian spirit bound by the curse, tasked to prevent intruders. With heart pounding, Eldoria recalled the amulet's power. She raised it high, and a radiant light burst forth, bathing the wolf in warmth. The beast's aggression softened, and it bowed before her, recognizing her pure heart and noble quest. The wolf led Eldoria to the Gate of Whispers, an ancient arch entwined with silver vines that shimmered in the twilight. She used the silver key, and the gate swung open with a low hum, revealing a hidden path cloaked in silvery mist. Taking a deep breath, Eldoria stepped forward, knowing that each step brought her closer to saving her brothers, but also deeper into the mysteries and dangers that awaited. Behind her, the forest seemed to sigh, as if holding its breath in hope. As Eldoria stepped beyond the Gate of Whispers, the world around her shifted like a dream. The silver mist curled and swirled, blurring the edges of the path, turning familiar woods into a realm of enchantment and peril. Each breath she took was heavy with magic, and the very air seemed alive with whispers of ancient secrets. The path wound deeper into Vale Wood, where towering trees stretched their twisted limbs towards a gloomy sky, their bark covered with strange runes that pulsed faintly with blue light. Strange glowing fungi dotted the forest floor, casting eerie shadows that danced with every step she took. Ildoria's heart pounded, but she moved forward with quiet determination. She thought of her brothers, transformed into swans, lost and vulnerable. Their fate now rested on her courage and resilience. After hours of trekking, she reached a clearing unlike any she had seen. At its center was a gigantic spiderweb spun between the ancient trees, shimmering like silver threads under the pale moonlight. The web was vast and complex, stretching beyond sight, and at its heart was the lair of the feared Spider Queen, an ethereal figure wrapped in shadows and glistening silk. Eldoria knew that the 6 enchanted threads she sought, the very strands that could undo the curse, were hidden within the Spider Queen's web. But to claim them, she would need to confront the Queen herself and overcome her cunning trials. As Eldoria approached cautiously, the Spider Queen's voice echoed, both beautiful and terrifying. "Who dares enter my domain? Speak, child of Eldoria, or be forever trapped in my web." Eldoria swallowed her fear and stepped forward, her voice steady. "I am Eldoria, youngest of the royal family, and I seek the enchanted threads to save my brothers from a terrible curse. Grant me your aid, or face my resolve." The Spider Queen studied her silently for a moment before a slow smile spread across her lips. Very well. You shall have your threads, if you prove worthy. Suddenly, the ground trembled, and illusions sprang forth from the web scenes of Eldora's deepest fears and doubts. She saw visions of failure, of her family lost forever, and of herself alone in the dark. The first trial was to overcome despair. Eldora closed her eyes and took a deep breath, calling upon the love she held for her brothers and the hope in her heart. Slowly, the illusions faded, and the forest grew still once more. The Spider Queen then posed a second test, a riddle of fate and choice. I weave the threads of destiny and bind the lives of many. What am I? Eldora pondered, then answered softly, the web of life. The Queen nodded, impressed. For the final trial, you must cross my web, but beware, one false step will bind you forever. With focused steps and steady hands, Eldora navigated the delicate silken threads. The web shimmered and shifted beneath her fingers, but her determination held firm. As she reached the center, the Queen presented 6 gleaming threads, each pulsating with magical light. These are the threads of fate, she said. Use them wisely, for the weaving is yours to control. Eldora accepted them gratefully, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. As she turned to leave, the Spider Queen whispered, Remember, child, the curse is not broken by threads alone. Patience, sacrifice, and love will bind the spell. Eldora nodded, understanding that her journey was just beginning. The way back through Valewood seemed less daunting, as if the forest itself respected her bravery. That night, as she camped beneath the ancient oaks, Eldora began to weave the first of 6 magical garments from the enchanted threads. Each stitch carried her hopes, each thread bound with silent prayers. Her fingers ached, but her spirit burned bright with purpose. Little did she know, far from the peaceful campfires and whispering woods, shadows stirred dark forces aware of her quest and determined to stop her at any cost. Eldora's days and nights now blurred into a single, relentless mission, to weave the 6 enchanted garments from the Spider Queen's magical threads. Each garment was more intricate than the last, requiring her to pour her soul and patience into every stitch. Her fingers bled and her eyes grew heavy, but the image of her lost brothers soaring free kept her unwavering. Back at the palace, the absence of the 6 princes left a hollow ache in the once lively halls. The king and queen were consumed by grief, their sorrow mirrored in the muted whispers of the courtiers. But unknown to Eldora, the palace harbored its own secret shadows that moved silently and eyes that watched her every step. In the dim corridors, a new figure emerged, Lord Malric, the queen's advisor, whose charm masked a cunning ambition. He spoke softly to the queen, planting seeds of doubt about Eldora's intentions and the true nature of the curse. Your Majesty, not all is as it seems. Perhaps these disappearances are part of a darker plot, and Eldora's actions may bring ruin rather than salvation. The queen's gaze faltered, torn between trust and fear. Meanwhile, servants whispered of strange happenings near the garden where Eldora often sat. Some claim to see flickering shadows and hear faint incantations carried on the wind. Eldoria herself felt the growing weight of suspicion. One evening, as she returned from gathering herbs for her weaving potions, she was confronted by a mysterious masked figure cloaked in midnight. The figure's voice was cold. "Cease your weaving, child. The threads you bind will only tighten your chains." Before she could respond, the figure vanished into the night, leaving behind a single black feather, a chilling reminder that dark forces were closing in. Determined to uncover the truth, Eldoria sought counsel from the palace's ancient library once more. There, hidden beneath layers of dust, she found a secret diary belonging to the kingdom's founder, a wise sorcerer who once battled the same curse. The diary revealed a prophecy: when blood of kin is bound by wings of fate, the youngest must sacrifice voice and freedom to unravel shadows. Eldoria realized the true cost of her quest. She must vow silence until the curse is broken, sacrificing her own voice to protect her brothers. Summoning all her courage, Eldoria took a solemn vow beneath the moonlight, her voice fading into a silent promise. Her sacrifice awakened a hidden magic within the threads, causing them to glow softly with renewed power. Meanwhile, Lord Malric's schemes deepened. He conspired with a secret cult who sought to harness the curse's power for their own gain. They sent agents to sabotage Eldoria's efforts, weaving lies to turn the court against her. But Eldoria was not alone. Her loyal friend and childhood companion, Callan, a skilled woodsman with knowledge of the forest's mysteries, pledged to guard her through the dark times. Together, they planned to outwit the shadows and protect the fragile hope for the prince's return. As the palace lights dimmed, and shadows lengthened, Eldoria's silent resolve burned brighter than ever. The path ahead was perilous, filled with betrayal, magic, and sacrifice. But with every thread woven, she stitched together not only garments, but the fragile fabric of hope that might yet restore her family. The vow Eldoria took in the moonlit garden was unlike any other. To save her brothers, she bound herself in silence, relinquishing the gift of her voice until the last stitch of the enchanted garments was woven. It was a sacrifice heavy on her heart, yet her resolve was unshakable. Days turned into weeks as Eldoria toiled silently, her fingers dancing over shimmering threads, her eyes reflecting the glow of ancient magic. The palace buzzed with rumors, whispers of the mute princess who spoke only through her determined gaze. Though voiceless, her spirit spoke loudly in the hearts of those who loved her. Callan, ever her steadfast protector, moved like a shadow beside her, warding off threats both seen and unseen. His knowledge of the forest's secrets became invaluable as dark forces gathered to challenge Eldoria's quest. One evening, as Eldoria sat weaving by candlelight, Callan returned with grave news. "The cult of the Shadow Veil grows bolder," he whispered urgently. "They've infiltrated the court, seeking the key to the curse's source." Eldoria's eyes narrowed. The Shadow Veil was a clandestine sect, bent on harnessing the curse's power to overthrow the monarchy and plunge Eldoria into chaos. Determined to strike first, Callan and Eldoria devised a plan to expose the cult's leaders. Using messages written with enchanted ink visible only in moonlight, they communicated covertly, evading the spies woven throughout the castle's halls. Meanwhile, the enchanted garments began to take shape. The first was a cloak that shimmered like dawn's first light, imbued with the power to calm storms and soothe restless hearts. Eldoria hoped it would help her brothers remember who they were beneath their swan forms. Yet, as the cloak neared completion, strange phenomena unsettled the castle. Servants spoke of shadows moving with minds of their own, and an icy chill lingered even in the warmest rooms. The cult's influence seeped like poison. In the depths of Balewood, the Spider Queen observed Ildoria's progress with a mixture of respect and menace. She sent emissaries, phantom spiders cloaked in mist, to test Ildoria's resolve. One such emissary confronted Eldoria in her garden, weaving illusions that tempted her to abandon her vow. Visions of her brothers restored and her family reunited played before Ildoria's eyes, but the price demanded was her freedom and soul. With a silent scream trapped in her throat, Eldoria resisted, her heart steeled by love and sacrifice. Back in the castle, Callan uncovered the identity of the cult's leader, a charismatic nobleman named Lord Varin, who wielded dark magic masked by his genteel facade. Varin had long coveted the throne and saw the curse as his means to seize power. A dangerous game of cat and mouse ensued. Callan gathered allies among loyal knights and trusted servants, planning to reveal Varin's treachery at the upcoming festival of the Silver Moon, a night when Eldoria celebrated light and renewal. As the festival approached, Ildoria's second garment neared completion, a shimmering gown woven with threads of twilight, granting protection from enchantments and illusions. The stakes grew higher with every stitch. On the eve of the festival, Varin struck, unleashing a curse upon the castle's water supply, turning it bitter and poisonous. Panic spread quickly, but Eldoria, though silent, led Callan and her allies to use ancient remedies found in the founder's diary to cleanse the wells. The people's faith in the royal family was shaken, but Ildoria's quiet heroism began to rekindle hope. The festival itself was a night of tension and beauty. Lanterns floated into the starry sky, music filled the air, and beneath the joyful celebrations, Eldoria and Callan moved carefully, weaving plans and watching for Varin's next move. Suddenly, in the grand hall, a chilling scream echoed, an illusion cast by Varin to distract and sow chaos. Amid the turmoil, Callan confronted the nobleman, exposing his dark deeds before the court. A fierce battle of magic and steel ensued, with Ildoria's second garment glowing softly, lending strength to her allies. Varin was captured, but his final curse unleashed a shadow over the castle, a lingering threat that promised more trials ahead. As dawn broke, Eldoria returned to her silent weaving, her heart heavy but unbroken. She knew the road to freeing her brothers was far from over. The garments must be completed, the curse undone, and her voice restored. Yet, in the quiet moments, a new strength blossomed, a fierce hope born from sacrifice, love, and unyielding courage. The fate of Eldoria rested in her hands, and Eldoria was ready to face whatever darkness awaited. The heavy silence that enveloped Eldoria after her vow was both a burden and a shield. Without her voice, she communicated with a depth that transcended words through fierce looks, gentle touches, and unwavering resolve. Her weaving became her language, each thread a message of hope and defiance. Callan remained her shadow, fierce and loyal. Together, they ventured beyond the palace walls, seeking the next piece of the puzzle, the heart of Balewood, a sacred glade rumored to pulse with the forest's lifeblood. Legends whispered that the heart contained the essence of ancient magic strong enough to strengthen the garments and grant Eldoria the power to break the curse. As they journeyed through the tangled woods, they encountered strange phenomena: a whispering wind that carried voices, flowers that bloomed with eerie luminescence, and creatures both wondrous and dangerous. Ildoria's amulet glowed softly, guiding them forward. One night, they camped beneath colossal trees whose branches seemed to cradle the stars themselves. There, Eldoria dreamed of her brothers, half-human, half-swan, trapped between worlds. In her dream, a figure cloaked in shimmering feathers beckoned her forward, urging her onward. Awakening with renewed purpose, Eldoria pressed on, but the forest tested her resolve. A pack of shadow wolves emerged, their eyes gleaming with otherworldly hunger. Callan stepped forward, drawing his blade, but Eldoria raised her hands, invoking the amulet's protective light. The wolves howled and retreated, shadows dissolving into mist. Yet, the battle left Eldoria weakened, her silent sacrifice exacting a toll beyond mere words. Deeper into the woods, they found a heart, a pool of crystal clear water encircled by ancient runes that pulsed like a heartbeat. As Eldoria approached, the water shimmered, revealing visions of Eldoria's past glorious and tragic moments entwined with the curse's origin. She knelt and dipped her hands into the pool. A surge of energy coursed through her veins, filling her with clarity and strength. The second garment glowed softly on her lap, now infused with the heart's magic. But as they prepared to leave, a chilling voice whispered through the trees, an echo of the Spider Queen's warning and a reminder that the darkest trial awaited. Returning to the castle, Eldoria and Callan discovered that Lord Malric had grown bolder, manipulating the court to turn suspicion against the young princess. Rumors spread that Eldoria's silence was a curse in itself, a sign of dark magic. Eldoria's only refuge became the quiet of her chambers, where the third garment awaited, a gown woven from moonlight and shadow, capable of hiding her from prying eyes and guarding her heart from despair. With each passing day, the line between friend and foe blurred. Even some who once pledged loyalty wavered under Malric's influence. Yet Eldoria's spirit remained unbroken. Through silent determination and Callan's unwavering support, she vowed to face every challenge until her brothers were free. The forest whispered promises of hope, and the silent warrior prepared for the trials yet to come. As the days grew shorter and the nights colder, Eldoria's silent vow weighed heavily on her soul. Though she could not speak, her eyes told stories of fierce determination and boundless love. The enchanted garments, now 3 in number, shimmered softly in her chamber: a cloak of dawn, a gown infused with the heart of vale wood, and a dress woven from moonlight and shadow. But with each stitch, the threads of danger tightened. Lord Malric's influence seeped like poison throughout Eldoria. His whispered lies stirred unrest among the nobles, painting Eldoria as a witch cursed by dark magic. Even the queen's heart faltered, torn between doubt and maternal love. Amidst the growing turmoil, Eldoria received an unexpected visitor: a mysterious woman cloaked in emerald robes, her eyes bright with ancient wisdom. "I am Seraphine, guardian of the Sylvan Grove," she said softly. "I have watched your journey and come to offer aid." Seraphine revealed that the curse was woven not only by the Spider Queen but strengthened by a hidden cabal, the Web of Shadows, a secret society manipulating fate and shadows alike. To break the curse, Eldoria needed to uncover the web's core and sever its hold on the royal bloodline. Guided by Seraphine's knowledge, Eldoria and Callan ventured to the Sylvan Grove, a sacred sanctuary where time seemed to stand still, and the boundary between worlds grew thin. There, Eldoria faced her fourth trial, a labyrinth of living vines and illusions designed to test her heart's truth. Each twist challenged her with visions of betrayal and despair, showing what might happen if she failed: her brothers lost forever, the kingdom in ruin, and her own spirit shattered. But with unwavering courage, Eldoria followed the quiet voice of love within her, finding the labyrinth's heart a crystal spiderweb shimmering with threads of destiny. Seraphine taught Eldoria to weave these threads into her garments, strengthening their magic but warning that each addition demanded a sacrifice. Meanwhile, back at the palace, Callan uncovered a traitor within the court, Lord Malric's loyal spy, a charming yet ruthless noble named Lysandra. Lysandra's machinations nearly thwarted Eldoria's efforts, spreading false accusations and stirring fear. But the bonds of friendship proved stronger. Allies emerged: knights, servants, and even some nobles rallying to protect the silent princess and the hope she embodied. As Eldoria completed the fourth garment, a shimmering mantle entwined with the crystal threads, she felt a surge of power, a beacon of light in the encroaching darkness. Yet the web of shadows would not yield easily. Their next move was unknown, and the final two garments still awaited their magical threads and the ultimate sacrifices Eldoria must make. In the quiet moments, Eldoria whispered a silent promise to her brothers, to her family, and to the land she loved: she would not rest until the curse was broken and her voice restored. The fate of Eldoria balanced on the edge of a spider's web, and the silent warrior stood ready to weave a new destiny. The forest around Eldoria seemed to hold its breath as Eldoria and Callan pressed onward, deeper into the mysteries of the web of shadows. The enchanted garments, now 4 in number, pulsed faintly with ancient magic symbols of hope woven from sacrifice and determination. Seraphine's guidance had led them to a forgotten glade shrouded in perpetual twilight, where the veil between worlds was thinnest. It was here the next threads awaited, guarded by the enigmatic spirit of the heart, a being as beautiful as she was dangerous, embodying the duality of love and loss. Before Eldoria could reach the heart of the glade, the air shifted. Shadows coalesced into figures, whispering phantoms that twisted memories and truths alike. The spirit's test was not of strength, but of trust and perception. Visions flooded Eldoria's mind, moments of betrayal she feared might come from those closest to her, doubts planted like seeds in her heart. Among the phantoms was the image of Callan, his face torn between loyalty and something darker. With great effort, Eldoria sifted through the illusions, recognizing her own fears reflected back. She remembered Seraphine's words: the final battle was not only with external foes but the shadows within. Resolving to trust her heart, Eldoria reached the glowing core of the glade, where the fifth magical thread shimmered. The spirit of the heart appeared, an ethereal figure with eyes like molten silver. Only those who embrace both light and shadow may claim this thread, she intoned. Eldoria stepped forward, offering her silent vow anew. The spirit's gaze pierced her soul, then softened, acknowledging the princess's courage. As Eldoria wove the fifth garment, a cloak of twilight and flame, the forest around her brightened. But the celebration was short-lived. News reached the palace that Lord Malric had seized control of the city guard, tightening his grip on Eldoria's streets. His puppet, Lysandra, moved openly now, sowing fear and chaos. Whispers of rebellion stirred among the people. The queen, torn and fearful, sought Eldoria, pleading for her daughter to abandon the quest for the sake of the kingdom's fragile peace. But Eldoria, steadfast even in silence, refused. Her eyes shone with unyielding resolve. Callan, sensing the growing danger, rallied the loyalists. Together, they planned a daring strike to reclaim the city guard's barracks and expose Malric's treachery. As the night of the uprising approached, Eldoria completed the sixth and final garment, a gown woven with starlight and shadow, imbued with the power to bind the curse once and for all. The palace trembled beneath the weight of conspiracies and battles. Swords clashed in moonlit alleys, and magic flared like wildfire. Amid the chaos, Eldoria and Callan moved silently, their bond unbreakable. The silent princess, adorned in the enchanted garments, prepared to confront the ultimate darkness. But as dawn threatened to break, a chilling revelation awaited. The curse's source was closer than they ever imagined, hidden not in the forest's depths, but within the very walls of Eldoria's throne room. The final trial was at hand, and the fate of her brothers, her family, and the kingdom rested upon a fragile thread. The first light of dawn broke over Eldoria, casting long shadows through the grand halls of the palace. Eldoria, draped in her 6 enchanted garments that shimmered with the magic of sacrifice and hope, stood silently before the throne room's heavy oak doors. The weight of her quest pressed upon her, yet her heart beat with unyielding courage. Beside her, Callan tightened his grip on the hilt of his sword, eyes scanning the corridors where betrayal lurked. They both knew that the source of the ancient curse, the final knot in the web of shadows, was no distant force, but close, hidden behind the gilded facade of the kingdom itself. Inside the throne room, Lord Malric sat in the king's seat, a sinister smile curling his lips. His power, bolstered by dark magic and the backing of the web of shadows, had nearly broken the kingdom. He was poised to seize complete control, with only Eldoria and her silent defiance standing in his way. As Eldoria entered, the court fell into a tense hush. Malric's eyes gleamed with malicious amusement. "So, the silent princess returns," he sneered. "Come to claim what you cannot possibly have power beyond your station." Eldoria met his gaze without fear. The enchanted garments shimmered, their magic pulsing in response to the tension. "I am here to end the curse and reclaim my family's honor," her eyes said with fierce resolve. Malric laughed, summoning tendrils of shadow that writhed like serpents around his throne. "Then let us see if you can withstand the final trial." The room darkened, shadows spilling over the walls, twisting into monstrous forms. The web of shadows manifested fully, a vast, living network of darkness seeking to ensnare Eldoria. But the garment's magic flared brightly. The cloak of dawn radiated warmth, dissolving the cold shadows. The gown of twilight and flame blazed fiercely, burning through illusions. The mantle of crystal threads shimmered, deflecting attacks. The cloak of moonlight hid her from sight, while the dress woven from starlight bound the shadows. With each layer, Eldoria's silent power grew. Callan charged forward, cutting through Malric's summoned creatures with precision and bravery. The loyalists rallied, turning the tide within the palace walls. Eldoria, moving like a silent tempest, wove the final thread of magic with deft fingers, her heart focused on the brothers trapped beyond the veil. Suddenly, a piercing cry echoed. The 6 swan brothers appeared at the throne room's windows, wings beating fiercely against the darkness. Their eyes held hope and recognition. Eldoria's eyes welled with tears. Though she could not speak, her love and sacrifice had transcended silence. With a final surge of magic, the curse shattered like glass. The shadows screamed and dissipated, and Malric's dark power was broken. He collapsed, defeated, as the light returned to Eldoria. The brothers, transformed back into their human forms, rushed to Eldoria's side. The family reunited, tears mingling with laughter in a moment of pure joy. The queen embraced her daughter, pride and relief shining through her tears. Though Eldoria remained silent, her heart sang louder than words, a song of hope, courage, and unbreakable love. Eldoria healed, its light restored, its shadows vanquished. And the silent princess, now a legend whispered through the ages, became a symbol of sacrifice and strength that would inspire generations to come. The sun rose over Eldoria like a promise fulfilled, casting golden light over a kingdom reborn from shadow. The curse that had long haunted the royal family was broken, and the 6 princes Alaric, Brendan, Cedric, Dorian, Eamon, and Felix stood tall once more in their true human forms, wings folded away but spirits soaring higher than ever. Yet amidst the jubilation, the palace was not without scars. The lingering darkness of Lord Malric's betrayal had left fractures within the court and hearts burdened by grief and suspicion. Eldoria, the silent princess whose sacrifice had made victory possible, was now faced with a different kind of challenge: the delicate task of healing the wounds left by fear and deception. Though she still could not speak, Eldoria's presence was a beacon of hope. Her silence had become a language of its own, a silent song that resonated deeply with those who looked beyond words. With Kaelin's unwavering support, she set about restoring not only her family but the very soul of Eldoria. The first step was reconciliation. The king, humbled and heartbroken, called a grand council where nobles, knights, and common folk alike came together to renew their vow to the kingdom and to each other. Here, truths were revealed, and old grievances aired with honesty and humility. Eldoria, adorned in her 6th enchanted garment, the gown woven from starlight and shadow, stood at the center of the hall. Though voiceless, her eyes met those of every attendee, conveying a strength and compassion that softened hardened hearts. The princes, once wild and adventurous, now bore a newfound wisdom. They pledged themselves to serve the people with humility and courage, vowing to protect Eldoria from any future darkness. Meanwhile, Kaelin led efforts to root out the remaining remnants of the web of shadows. Secret hideouts were uncovered, and loyalists worked tirelessly to dismantle the cabal's influence. Justice was served with fairness, and the kingdom began to breathe again. In the quieter moments, Eldoria found solace in the gardens where the journey had first begun. There, beneath the ancient oaks, she allowed herself to dream beyond her vow of silence. She imagined a future filled with laughter, song, and freedom. One evening, as the twilight bathed the garden in hues of violet and gold, Eldoria felt a gentle warmth blossom within her throat, a stirring long awaited. Gathering her courage, she opened her mouth and whispered a single word, soft as the wind. Home. The word carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken thoughts, a culmination of love, sacrifice, and hope. Tears sparkled in the eyes of those nearby, for in that simple sound was the promise of new beginnings. The kingdom of Eldoria would never forget the silent princess who spoke volumes with her heart. Her legend grew beyond the walls of the palace, inspiring songs and stories, reminding all that sometimes, the greatest voices are those that do not need words. As seasons turned and years passed, Eldoria thrived in peace and prosperity, its people forever grateful to the girl who wove threads of magic and love into a tapestry that saved them all. And somewhere, beneath the starlit sky, Eldoria smiled, her silent song echoing eternally through the land she had healed. Just as Eldoria began to heal from the wounds of the past, mysterious echoes from forgotten times stirred in the depths of the kingdom's ancient catacombs. Whispers of a hidden power older than the curse itself awoke shadows long buried beneath the palace's foundations. Eldoria, now hailed as the silent songstress, sensed a new challenge approaching. Her journey was far from over. One night, as a silver mist curled through the palace halls, a cryptic message appeared on the enchanted threads she had woven, an ancient rune glowing faintly, signaling the awakening of the Veil Stone, a relic said to contain the essence of Eldoria's earliest magic. Determined to protect her kingdom, Eldoria assembled a trusted council including her brothers, Calin and Seraphine. They deciphered the message and learned that the Veilstone's power was both a blessing and a curse, capable of great creation or devastating destruction. The relic had fractured ages ago, its shards scattered across distant lands, guarded by formidable creatures and treacherous terrain. To prevent chaos, these shards must be found and reunited, an epic quest that would test the family's unity and courage. Eldoria, breaking her vow of silence now filled with newfound strength, spoke to her brothers, rallying them for the journey ahead. The princes, once trapped as swans, now stood ready as warriors and protectors, their bonds forged in love and sacrifice stronger than ever. Calin sharpened his blade, eyes gleaming with resolve. Seraphine called upon the ancient spirits of the Sylvan Grove, seeking guidance and blessings. Their quest began with a journey beyond Eldoria's borders to the Stormlands, a realm of raging tempests and jagged cliffs, where the first shard was said to rest beneath the waves. Along the way, they faced treacherous storms, cunning foes who sought the Veilstone for their own dark purposes, and tests of loyalty and trust that threatened to tear them apart. Eldoria's silent strength inspired all, her enchanted garments glowing like beacons in the darkest nights. Each step forward wove new threads into the tapestry of their destiny, a legacy of hope, courage, and unbreakable family ties. And as the dawn broke over the tempestuous seas, the true adventure was just beginning. The long journey that had begun with a silent vow finally reached its climax in the heart of Eldoria, where past and present converged to decide the fate of the kingdom. Eldoria, the silent songstress, stood before the Veilstone, a radiant crystal pulsing with the combined power of the 6 enchanted garments and the reunited shards collected across distant lands. Her brothers, once bound in swan's form, now stood as mighty warriors beside her, their faces resolute and full of hope. The palace, once shadowed by betrayal and curse, was now a beacon of light, but the final challenge remained. The curse's origin, a shadow entity named Nocturus, had returned, desperate to reclaim His lost dominion. Nocturus appeared as a swirling storm of darkness, his voice a thunderous roar echoing through the sky. You may have undone my webs, but the darkness within all souls is eternal. I will consume this light and bind Eldoria forever. But Eldoria, though voiceless, spoke through the strength of her heart and the magic woven in her garments. As the light from the veil stone grew, so did her power. The 6 enchanted garments radiated, their magic harmonizing with the kingdom's renewed spirit. The battle was fierce. Nocturus unleashed shadows that sought to tear apart the very fabric of reality. The princes fought valiantly, wielding ancient weapons imbued with the magic of the veilstone shards. Callan, ever loyal, guarded Eldoria with unwavering courage, fending off the darkest creatures spawned by Nocturus. Seraphim summoned the ancient spirits of the Sylvan Grove, their ethereal forms weaving protective barriers and healing wounds. Eldoria's silent song, the unspoken love and sacrifice, became a powerful force that pierced through the shadow storm. Threads of light entwined with darkness, and in a blinding burst, Nocturus was sealed away, his power shattered and vanished. The kingdom held its breath as the storm faded, and the first rays of dawn spilled over Eldoria's hills. Eldoria, feeling the weight of her vow lift, spoke her first full sentence since the curse began. Together, we are whole. Tears streamed down the faces of those gathered, for in those words lay the promise of a new era. The king and queen embraced their children, grateful beyond words for their survival and sacrifice. The court celebrated not only the end of darkness but the enduring bonds of family, love, and hope. Eldoria's journey had transformed her from a silent princess to a legendary heroine whose story would echo through generations. She would forever be remembered as the one who wove the threads of fate into a tapestry of light, breaking curses with courage and a heart unyielding. As peace returned to Eldoria, the enchanted garments were laid to rest in the Hall of Ancients, symbols of sacrifice and resilience. Eldoria and her brothers ruled wisely, guiding the kingdom into an age of prosperity and harmony. Callan became a revered guardian, forever by their side. And the stories of the silent songstress, the girl who spoke without words but moved hearts, became the lullabies of Eldoria's children, reminding all that sometimes the greatest voices are those found in silence. Title: The Silent Songstress, The Curse of Eldoria and the Threads of Fate. Description: In the enchanted kingdom of Eldoria, 6 princes are cursed and transformed into swans, leaving their youngest sister, Eldoria, to bear the silent burden of saving them. Bound by a vow of silence, she embarks on a perilous journey through mystical forests, ancient magic, and shadowy conspiracies. Guided by enchanted garments woven from magical threads and aided by loyal companions, Eldoria faces trials that test her courage, love, and sacrifice. As dark forces threaten to consume the kingdom, only the silent songstress can unravel the curse and restore the light to Eldoria. A tale of resilience, family bonds, and the power of silent strength that will inspire hearts for generations.